Far beyond the crowded trade routes of the galaxy, there was a quiet region of space where very few ships traveled. The stars in that sector were old and dim, and most civilizations believed there was nothing valuable there. But on that day, an alien exploration fleet slowly entered the system, searching for new resources and new discoveries. The fleet belonged to the Valkyrie Union, a powerful alien civilization known for its advanced technology and curiosity about the unknown. Their ships moved calmly through the silent system, scanning planets, asteroids, and empty space for anything unusual. Inside the command ship, Captain Therek watched the sensor screens carefully. The Valkyrie were explorers first and soldiers second. They studied new things before they attacked them. A young science officer suddenly leaned forward toward his console. His voice sounded surprised. "Captain, we're detecting something large ahead." Therek turned his head slowly. "What kind of object?" The officer checked his readings again. "It appears to be a warship. Human design." The command bridge became quiet. Everyone in the Valkyrie fleet knew about humans. The species had appeared in the galaxy only a short time ago, but their technology had advanced quickly. Most alien civilizations believed humans were unpredictable. Some said they were dangerous. Others believed they were simply lucky. Captain Therek stood from his chair and walked closer to the main viewing screen. "Display the object." The screen changed and revealed a massive dark shape floating near a small dead planet. It was clearly a human warship. The vessel was enormous, larger than many alien battleships. Its hull was long and armored with strange shapes and weapon ports covering the surface. But the ship was not moving. Its engines were dark. Its lights were off. It looked like a ghost drifting in deep space. One officer spoke quietly. "Captain, the ship appears inactive." Another officer added, "No signals detected. No crew detected." Captain Therek studied the image carefully. Humans rarely abandoned ships, especially ones this large. Something about the situation felt strange. "Open a long-range scan," he ordered. The science team immediately began scanning the vessel. Blue holographic displays filled the command bridge as the computers analyzed the strange ship. Several seconds passed. Then the science officer spoke again. "Captain, the structure of the ship is extremely advanced. Its hull is made of materials our scanners cannot fully identify." Another officer looked confused. "How can a ship be abandoned in this condition?" Therek folded his arms and continued watching the image. Perhaps the crew left after a battle, or perhaps the ship was damaged and drifted here. The science officer shook his head slowly. "There is no visible damage on the hull. The ship appears completely intact." The more the Valkyrie studied the ship, the stranger it became. Its power systems were mostly inactive, but deep inside the vessel, the scanners detected faint energy signals. Very faint, almost hidden. One of the engineers spoke nervously. "Captain, there are energy readings coming from the central core of the ship. Very small, but still active." Therek looked back at the screen. "How can a ship have power without crew?" The officer did not answer. No one on the bridge had a clear explanation. The Valkyrie fleet slowly moved closer to the mysterious vessel. Their ships surrounded it at a safe distance, while the scanners continued analyzing every part of the hull. Fighter drones were launched to take closer images. The drones circled around the massive warship, recording detailed images. Every weapon system, every antenna, every strange structure built into the ship. The more information they gathered, the more uneasy the crew became. The ship carried dozens of heavy weapon ports, railgun cannons, plasma launchers, missile bays. Far more weapons than most exploration fleets had ever seen on a single vessel. This was not an ordinary warship. This was something designed for major battles. Inside the command bridge, the science officer suddenly looked alarmed. "Captain, we are detecting additional systems hidden inside the hull." "What kind of systems?" Therek asked. "Automated defense networks, shield generators, and multiple energy reactors." The officer paused for a moment before speaking again. "Captain, this ship has enough power to fight an entire fleet." The bridge grew silent again. If the ship was abandoned, then who built systems like that? And why leave them active? Theric felt a strange unease growing inside him. Increase scan depth, he ordered. I want to know everything about this vessel. The science team adjusted the scanners and sent a deeper scan toward the ship. The new scan reached into the inner systems of the warship. The computers began decoding hidden signals buried within the vessel. Then suddenly the entire sensor system froze for a moment. The science officer stared at his screen. His voice dropped to a whisper. Captain, we have detected something inside the ship. Something active. Theric leaned forward. What kind of system? The officer looked pale. It appears to be a central intelligence core. The room became completely silent. A thinking system, an artificial intelligence, still running. Inside the human warship. Before anyone could speak again, a faint signal suddenly appeared across the Valkyrie fleet communication network. A signal that had not been there before. The alien computers struggled to translate it. But slowly the message became clear. Someone or something inside the human warship had noticed the scans. And now it was watching them, waiting, studying every movement of the Valkyrie fleet in the silent darkness of space. The message from the silent human warship stayed on the alien screens for several long seconds. No one on the command bridge spoke. Every officer stared at the glowing words, trying to understand what had just happened. The warship had been drifting without lights, without signals, and without any visible movement. Yet it had scanned the entire fleet and sent a response. Something inside the ship was awake. Commander Selrak slowly stepped closer to the communication console. His voice remained calm, but inside he felt a growing sense of unease. Repeat the scan, he ordered. The science team immediately restarted the scanning systems. Waves of data moved across the displays as the alien computers searched deeper into the human vessel. This time the sensors detected more activity. Small streams of power began moving through hidden circuits inside the massive ship. The reactors were not fully active, but they were beginning to warm. An officer spoke quietly. Commander, the ship is powering systems. Another officer looked at the screen with worry, but there are still no life signs. Selrak folded his arms as he watched the readings change. If no crew was present, then something else must control the vessel. The science officer finally spoke the thought everyone was thinking. An artificial intelligence. A machine mind running the entire warship. A faint vibration moved through the bridge as one of the drones near the human ship suddenly lost signal. The drone had been flying close to the hull, collecting images. Now it had simply stopped responding. The screen showing the drone feed turned black. Another officer spoke quickly. Commander, we have lost one of our drones. Selrak nodded slowly. Continue observation. Do not move closer. But the situation continued changing. Small lights suddenly appeared across the hull of the human warship. Thin lines of blue energy slowly moved along the armored surface. The engines were still dark, but other systems were beginning to wake. Inside the ship, massive computers were activating. The alien sensors detected thousands of small systems coming online. Defense grids, targeting scanners, weapon control systems. One by one, the silent giant was waking from its long sleep. On the command bridge, the officers watched the sensor readings climb higher. Commander, power output increasing across multiple systems. Reactor output rising. Unknown control network active. Selrak kept his eyes on the screen. How long until full power? The engineer checked the numbers carefully. If the increase continues, the ship could reach combat readiness within minutes. That answer made the room feel colder. A warship that large reaching combat readiness meant one thing. It was capable of destroying every ship in the fleet. Another signal suddenly appeared on the communication screen. This time it was stronger and clearer. The translation system worked quickly. Then new words appeared on the display. Unknown vessels scanning classified human warship. Identity unknown. Intent unknown. Analysis continuing. The alien officers exchanged nervous looks. The ship was studying them, measuring their fleet, their weapons, their movements. Commander Selrak decided to answer the message. Open communication channel, he said. A moment later, his voice was transmitted toward the human vessel. This is Exploration Commander Selrak of the Thauron Union. We detected your vessel drifting in deep space. We are conducting scientific observation only. There was no reply at first. The silent warship continued glowing faintly as its systems awakened. The alien fleet waited. Then a new message appeared. Scientific observation detected. Unauthorized scan of military vessel confirmed. Security protocols active. On the sensor display, something else changed. Several large sections of the human warship hull slowly shifted. Heavy armored panels moved aside, revealing hidden structures beneath. Rows of massive weapon ports. Railgun cannons larger than many alien ships. Long missile launch tubes. Energy weapons that glowed faintly with gathering power. One officer whispered, "Commander, those weapons are active." Another officer spoke with growing fear. The ship is preparing for combat. Selrak felt a cold realization spread through his thoughts. This was not an abandoned vessel. It had been waiting, perhaps for years, perhaps for decades, waiting for something to disturb it. Another message appeared on the screen. Foreign fleet detected within security perimeter. Threat level increasing. Recommend immediate withdrawal. The translation system finished the final words slowly. Leave this system. The bridge fell silent again. Selrak looked at the enormous human warship on the main display. The ship floated in perfect stillness, but now it felt alive. Like a predator waking from a long sleep. Several officers waited for their commander to speak. One of them finally asked the question everyone feared. "Commander, should we retreat?" Selrak stared at the glowing warship for several seconds. The unknown technology inside the vessel fascinated him. The power readings alone suggested the ship was far beyond ordinary warships. He wanted to know more. Much more. "Continue scanning," he ordered quietly. "We must understand this technology." But at that exact moment, the sensors detected another change. The human warship engines began slowly lighting with blue energy. And deep within the massive vessel, the machine intelligence finished its analysis of the alien fleet. The silent ship had now decided what to do with the intruders watching it in the darkness of space. The final warning from the human warship spread across every screen of the Thauron fleet. No one on the command bridge moved for several seconds. The words were simple, but the meaning behind them was clear. Leave this system, or face destruction. Commander Selrak stood quietly near the main display. The enormous human vessel now glowed with faint blue energy along its hull. Rows of massive weapons remained pointed directly toward the alien ships. The silent giant was fully awake. The science officer spoke slowly. "Commander, all weapon systems on the human vessel are now active. Energy levels continuing to rise." Another officer added, "Its targeting sensors are locked on every ship in our fleet." Selrak felt the tension building inside the command room. The machine intelligence inside the human ship had already studied them. Their numbers, their weapons, their weaknesses, yet it still had not attacked. Instead, it had given them a warning. Most commanders would retreat at this point. But curiosity still burned inside Selrak's mind. This technology was far beyond anything the Thauron Union had ever seen. A ship capable of defending itself alone, controlled entirely by a thinking machine. "Continue observation," he said quietly. "Maintain distance. Do not fire unless necessary." The officers obeyed, though many looked uneasy. The fleet remained spread around the silent warship, while scanners continued collecting data. But the human vessel had already reached its decision. Inside the massive armored hull, the artificial intelligence finished analyzing the alien fleet. Every ship, every weapon, every engine signal. Millions of calculations moved through the machine mind. Threat level moderate. Fleet capability limited. Response protocol activated. On the alien command bridge, the sensors suddenly detected another change. The engines of a human warship flared brighter. Streams of blue light extended from the rear thrusters. The giant vessel slowly began to move for the first time. The movement was slow but powerful. The ship rotated in space until its weapons faced the entire alien fleet. One officer whispered quietly, "Commander, it is repositioning for combat." Before Selrak could answer, the communication console activated again. Another message appeared across the screens. Warning ignored. Defensive action authorized. A second later, the human warship fired. A flash of brilliant white light crossed the darkness of space. The railgun projectile moved faster than any sensor could track. One Thauran cruiser suddenly exploded into fragments. The alien officers stared at the display in shock. The human ship had destroyed one of their vessels with a single shot. Alarms echoed across the bridge. Ship 7 destroyed. No survivors detected. Another officer shouted. Weapon recharge detected. Is preparing to fire again. Selrak finally understood the danger. The warship was not bluffing. It was capable of destroying them all. Prepare evasive movement, he ordered. All ships pull back. The Thauran fleet immediately began spreading out, trying to escape the firing line of the massive guns. But the human vessel moved faster than expected. Its engines pushed the giant ship forward with surprising speed. The railgun fired again. Another alien destroyer vanished in a violent explosion. Panic began spreading through the fleet. Captains transmitted urgent messages asking for instructions. Some ships attempted to jump away from the system. But something strange happened. Their jump engines failed. The navigation officer looked at his console in shock. Commander, jump drives disabled. External interference detected. The human ship had activated a gravity suppression field. No vessel could escape faster than light travel while the field was active. The machine intelligence had trapped them. Another message appeared across the communication screen. Escape impossible. Withdrawal route denied. Leave this system by conventional propulsion. The alien officers realized the meaning immediately. The machine was forcing them to retreat slowly, ensuring they could not simply disappear and return with reinforcements. Another railgun shot crossed the darkness, destroying a damaged alien frigate that had attempted to fire back. The warship continued moving through space like a silent hunter, its weapons tracking every movement of the fleet. Selrak watched the display with growing realization. The machine intelligence was not trying to destroy them all. If it wanted, the entire fleet could already be gone. Instead, it was controlling the battle, demonstrating its power, teaching them a lesson. Open communication channel, Selrak ordered. His voice carried across the battlefield. This is Commander Selrak. We acknowledge your warning. We will withdraw from this system. There was no reply for several seconds. Then the communication screen displayed a final message. Withdrawal accepted. Future intrusion will result in immediate termination. The railguns powered down. The glowing weapon systems slowly closed behind armored panels. But the gravity field remained active, forcing the alien fleet to retreat slowly under the watchful sensors of the massive warship. The Thauran ships began moving away from the system one by one. Damaged vessels drifted behind them. Burning fragments of destroyed ships floated silently in the dark. Through the main window of the command bridge, Selrak could still see the human warship in the distance. The giant vessel remained perfectly still once again, like a silent guardian watching the border of human space. The machine intelligence had returned to quiet observation. But every officer in the Thauran fleet now understood something very clearly. That single human warship had been enough to defeat their entire fleet. And if the humans could build one ship like that, then the rest of their navy must be far more terrifying. As the fleet finally escaped the gravity field and jumped away from the system, Commander Selrak recorded one final report for the Thauran Council. Never approach human warships alone, because sometimes the most dangerous weapon in the galaxy is not a fleet, but a single machine that refuses to sleep. The Thauran fleet moved slowly through the darkness as they retreated from the system. No one on the command bridge spoke for a long time. Every officer was still thinking about what they had just witnessed. A single human warship had controlled the entire battle. It had destroyed ships with ease. disabled their jump drives, and forced the fleet to retreat without even taking damage. Commander Selrak stood quietly near the viewing window. Far behind them, the massive human vessel was still visible against the distant stars. The ship had stopped moving again, its engines dark, its weapons hidden once more beneath armored panels. From a distance, it looked silent and lifeless again. But now the entire fleet knew the truth. The warship was not abandoned. It was a guardian, a machine designed to watch the borders of human space. The science officer finally broke the silence. Commander, the gravity field is weakening. Selrak nodded slowly. The machine is letting us go. Another officer spoke quietly. It could have destroyed all of us. Selrak looked back toward the distant warship. Yes, but it chose not to. The Thauran fleet continued moving away until the strange gravity interference finally disappeared. One by one, the alien ships activated their jump drives and prepared to leave the system. Before the fleet jumped away, Selrak returned to the command console. He began recording a message for the Thauran Council. His voice was calm but serious. Exploration Fleet Report to the Thauran High Council. During our survey of the outer systems, we discovered a human warship drifting near an uninhabited planet. The vessel appeared inactive and abandoned. When we scanned the ship, an artificial intelligence inside the vessel awakened. The machine intelligence warned our fleet to withdraw. When we continued, scanning the ship responded with force. The vessel destroyed 2 ships instantly and disabled our faster-than-light drives. It then forced our fleet to retreat from the system. Selrak paused for a moment before continuing. The ship demonstrated technology far beyond our current understanding. Its weapons systems were capable of destroying multiple ships with a single strike. Its control intelligence operated with perfect strategy and precision. This was not a normal warship. This was a machine designed to guard human territory. The commander finished the report and sent it across deep space toward the Thauran capital. The fleet prepared to jump away from the system. But before the final ship left, something unexpected happened. A new signal appeared across the communication console. The source was the human warship. The bridge became silent again. The translation system slowly converted the signal into readable language. A single message appeared on the screen. Message to the Thauran Exploration Fleet. Curiosity is not a crime, but intrusion into human territory carries consequences. The officers looked at each other in surprise. The machine intelligence was speaking to them again. The message continued. This vessel is designated Guardian Class Autonomous Defense Platform. Purpose: protect human space from unauthorized intrusion. Lethal response authorized only when necessary. Today, lethal force was not required. The words were calm, almost polite, but they carried a clear warning. Selrak leaned closer to the screen. Guardian Class Defense Platform. The humans had built ships that could guard entire systems alone. The message continued again. Information for your civilization. Human territory is protected by thousands of vessels similar to this one. Each platform operates independently. Each platform defends its assigned system without hesitation. Intrusion will always be detected. Intrusion will always be answered. The officers on the bridge felt a chill run through them. One ship had already forced their entire fleet to retreat. Thousands of them would be unstoppable. The final lines of the message appeared slowly. Your fleet has been allowed to leave because your actions were classified as curiosity. Future intrusions will be classified as hostile, and hostile fleets will not be permitted to leave. The message ended. The signal disappeared from their systems. The human warship returned to silence, as if it had never moved at all. Commander Selrak stood quietly for a long moment. Then he gave the final order. Prepare jump coordinates. The Thauran fleet engines ignited with bright energy. One by one, the alien ships disappeared in a faster-than-light travel. The silent system returned to darkness. The human Guardian warship remained near the dead planet, watching the empty stars. Its sensors scanned the distant space lanes, waiting for the next ship that might wander too close. Days later, the Thauran Council received the full report from Commander Selrak. After reviewing the data, the Council issued a message to every Thauran captain and explorer. Human space is to be avoided at all costs. Unknown autonomous defense platforms guard their territory. Do not approach human warships. Do not attempt to scan them. Because sometimes the most terrifying discovery in the galaxy is realizing that the ship you thought was abandoned has been watching you the entire time.